This conference will now be recorded.
Thank you for joining the City of Kingston's Common Council at our monthly caucus meeting. Today is Monday, May 4th. My name is Andrea Schott, the Council President and organizer for our virtual meetings. Before we begin our meeting, we would like to go over a few meeting guidelines to help us navigate the system as efficiently and respectfully as possible. We ask that members of the public and press remain muted and off camera for the length of the meeting. As organizer, I reserve the right to mute anyone who unmutes themselves. Council members and city staff will control their own mute button. Good practice would be to mute yourself if you are not speaking to avoid background noise and feedback. If a council member or staff wishes to speak, they will raise their hands. The chairperson will call on them before they speak by stating their name clearly for our audio listeners. All of our meetings are recorded. Both video and written transcriptions will be made available to the public on the city's website the next day. Although we will not have public speaking tonight, you could submit written comments to the City of Kingston Clerk, Elisa Tinty, at emtinty@kingston-ny.gov, or by dropping them off at the drop box located outside the side door of City Hall. We also encourage you to reach out to committee chairs or your ward's representative at any time. If you have any audio issues, send a text message to the following number, 845-594-6120. I'll repeat this number again, but be aware that phone calls will not be received during the meeting. The number to text is 845-594-6120. As the organizer for today's meeting, I reserve the right to lock and pause the meeting to eject anyone who has behaved inappropriately. Lastly, at tonight's meeting, we have in attendance the chair for the meeting, Majority Leader Rennie Scott Childress, Alderman Tony Davis, Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morel, Alderman Doug Coop, Alderwoman Rita Worthington, Alderman Don Tollerman, Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch, Alderman Steve Shabbat. City staff, we have City Clerk Elisa Tinty and Corp Counsel Kevin Bryant. Thank you for your patience during these difficult times, and on behalf of the Common Council, I wish you and your family good health. I now turn the floor over to Majority Leader Rennie Scott Childress.
Thank you. Rennie Scott Childress here. Thank you, President Schott. Before we get going, a couple of things. One is I would like to thank you, President Schott, for all the work that you've put into making these meetings happen, working with Kyle McIntosh, the IT specialist for the city, developing the GoToMeeting platform for us here and getting this to run what I think has been quite smoothly. We recognize that this is not optimal way to hold public meetings, but given the constraints that we're under, I think you've done an amazing job making this happen. So thank you very much for that. On another note, I would like to express, I think for all of us on the council, our deep condolences to Alderwoman Rita Worthington at the passing of her husband, Paul, over this past weekend. Paul was an absolute pillar of our community, an amazing person who touched the lives of hundreds and hundreds of people, who made the world a better place with every step and every breath that he took. And now that he's gone, we hope that we can work with Rita to make sure that his legacy continues and that we walk in his shadow, trying to find a better way to live with each other here in our community.
Thank you, Rennie. Thank you, Alderman Scott Childress. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for being here, Rita. I can't imagine that it's easy. So we have 10 items on our agenda tonight, and we can, I hope, go through these fairly quickly. The first one is a memorializing resolution supporting emergency rental assistance. This is something that will be going to support a state-oriented bill. These are the kind of things that we really need to work on in order to help our state officials understand the gravity of the situation. We know that they work fairly closely with constituents, but we're down here in the trenches, and this is the sort of thing that I think is really vital for us to pass on so that they understand what's going on here. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, or issues they'd like to raise in terms of this resolution? Then I'm assuming that we're all okay with this one. All right, Resolution 85, declaring the Common Council as lead agency to review for the review of the zoning code. Any questions, concerns, or issues relating to this? Yes, Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morel.
Hi, Jeffrey Ventura Morel here. Yes, this is a proposal that was, the mayor had a press conference in the fall of last year expressing his interest in doing this initiative of requiring all new buildings in the city of Kingston to include 10% affordable housing, not just the buildings on the mixed use overlay district. And this is just the follow-up of that. So 85 and 86 are related to the same issue. 85 is declaring ourselves lead agency, and 86 is to send communication to all involved agencies asking for their input. Thank you.
Great. Yes, Alderman Davis.
Alderman Davis here, that we are not discussing this legislation in that, right, in regard to 10% affordable housing in all of the city of Kingston. That's not in this proposal at this time. That we'll be able to discuss that later on.
That's correct. So just that you're correct. This is just the pass on, get comments, but this isn't to vote to, yes, this is 10, we want 10% affordable housing. That would come later.
Thank you.
This is our due diligence. So that's 85 and 86. Good. Resolution 87 is about the removal of a no-turn sign, a no-turn on red rather, at Greenkill Avenue. Is everybody okay with this? Any questions, concerns, comments? So I'm guessing everybody is okay with that one then. Resolution 88 is a budget transfer in the Economic and Community Development Department in the amount of $195,000 for Restore New York Round 4 funds. This is something where the City of Kingston is acting as a pass-through. So we are not spending any money with this. We are simply moving money from one government agency to a supplier of building, or rather of housing here in Kingston. Anything else, Alderman Coop?
No, I don't think so. I would just mention this is the first caucus meeting I've been at where there was only one resolution from the Finance Committee. I love it. But it's a pass through. It's a, the grant is there and we're just going to transfer it into the expenditure line. Thank you.
While you're mentioning the Finance Committee, I would like to point out to everyone who's listening, the mayor today released 3 different plans taking care of or looking at different potential outcomes from our current fiscal concerns. And those are available through the city's website. The city council, common council rather, is going to be taking these up, looking at these very closely in the next several days and trying to figure out how exactly we can work with the mayor to craft responses before we get into dire situations. That way we'll be able to act as quickly as possible and as responsibly as we can in this very difficult situation. All right, Resolution 89, removing handicap parking on Aura Place. Oh, yes.
Hand up.
I've had my hand up, Rennie.
Oh, sorry.
I just had a quick question. Do we have confirmation that all of these pass-through grants are still going to be happening in light of all the budget issues at the state level?
I do not know.
And we certainly don't have any confirmations to the contrary. It's a good question, but I guess not hearing to the contrary, I think we have to assume that it's going to go forward.
Is your concern?
Other than that, I don't know what else we can do.
Is your concern that we might be on the hook somehow?
Yes, of course. I know that there's a lot of talk. There was 463-page report that was put out by the budget department at the state this weekend, discussing the various cuts. So I just want to confirm that these cuts are not going to be trickled down to us and our municipality.
Well, Brittany's got Childress here. I don't know about how the cuts may affect us, but we would not be on the hook for the $195,000. It's not coming from us. This is a pro forma kind of operation.
Okay, is John Toohey here on the call or no, or on the meeting or no?
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so resolution 89, removing handicap parking on Aura Place. Everybody okay with this one? Concerns, comments? Alderman Davis?
Alderman Davis here. I apologize. I didn't get my mute. Is that something that Alderwoman Hurst had that question? Is that something could be followed up before tomorrow's meeting? And just to have it, you know, that information for each Alder person in regard to if he knows about the grants or from Kristen Wilson, if she has any more information about that. Either way, they know if the grants might be in jeopardy, or that these ones that we've already started doing the work for are safe. Is that something we could get information from one of those two in regard to that?
Renee Scott Childress here. Can I just clarify, are you referring specifically to this one pass-through grant, or to more generally the grants on all the projects that we've got working?
I mean, again, I'm sorry, Alderman Tony Davis here again. Any information that she could give us on specifically this grant that we're passing right to, tomorrow, and by any grants that that's out there that she might have any additional information, her or John, in regard to, and there'd be just more information for us that's all the people to know, and so we could be more educated. I appreciate it.
All right, President Schott, then Alderwoman Hirsch.
Just about the grants in general, Kristen is planning on coming to finance in May to talk about that. And that is not the answer to your first question, but that's your answer to your second question. And I would recommend somebody reaching out to Kristen tomorrow, maybe copying all of us, if somebody wants to do that, to find out about this specific grant.
Sure, Alderwoman Hirsch.
I'm just going to request that moving forward, that if there's a way to have Controller Toohey available at all our meetings, because there is so much financial impacts to municipalities right now, that these questions be answered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would you be willing to write him about this specific one, email him tomorrow?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I would also copy Kristen on it, because she might actually have the answer. Kristen Wilson?
Yes, I will, but this is not also necessarily grant related, but just any financial issues that we have.
About this one, I would reach out to Kristen on too, so you could tie it in.
All right, then resolution 90, adding handicap parking on Ravine Street. Everybody okay with this one? Any questions, concerns, or issues? Okay. Resolution 91, adding a stop sign at the intersection of Westbrook Lane and Sharon Lane. Any concerns, questions, or issues there? All right, resolution 92, amending the zoning map to extend the mixed-use overlay district to include 51 Schwenk Drive. Everybody okay with this one, or any questions or concerns? Alderman Ventura Morel.
Yes, Jeffrey Ventura Morel here. Just to point out that there was language that was missing when we originally looked at this at Laws and Rules. So specifically the fifth whereas on the resolution was added by Corp Counsel. It's something that we had talked about, but it somehow didn't make it onto the resolution. So it was the whereas, acknowledging that we had received the communication from the Ulster County Planning Board, and that the developer had agreed to include the 10% affordable housing, and thus fulfill the requirement that they had set forth.
Okay. Everybody's okay with this one then for tomorrow night?
Hmm?
All right, good, okay. So resolution 93 then, adding no parking in bike lanes citywide. We had a discussion about this in public safety. Anybody need to know more about this one? Everybody okay with it?
Yeah, could you just fill me in just a little bit since I wasn't at public safety?
Great, so Rita Worthington asked to be filled in. Alderman Davis, can you remind us what was going on with this one?
This is Alderman Davis here. So Alderman Jeffrey Van Morel was approached about the situation on Hurley Avenue at this time, where some vehicles are parking in the bike lane, and that Jeffrey, can you help me? Who was the gentleman?
Yes, it was Dan Quisnell.
Dan Quisnell, and he had there was nothing on the books in regard to him being able to tell motorists is that they cannot park in bike lanes, because that was not currently in the code, because at the time we had no bike lanes, Rita. So we had to include this language in there so that he would be able to go to the anybody who parks in the bike lanes and says you are violating such and such code and you can't park there. And so we did it citywide, because we are going to eventually Broadway, that section from Grant Street to Liberty Street, I believe, is going to be having bike lanes. So we wanted to do it citywide, and so it's on the books or in the code.
Okay, so Rita Worthington here. So is that going to be something that is enforceable by fine? Should it be violated?
That'd be something maybe for court counsel on it. I'm not sure exactly if it's a fine is issued and not on the first time. And so that might be something that court might be, or Jeffrey, I'm not sure, but I believe that's something court counsel can address.
It was my understanding that people would just get a warning for the first time. They would just be told you're not supposed to park on the bike lanes, and then if it's a consistent problem, then they would start giving fines.
Rennie Scott Childress here, and the other thing was that this actually doesn't affect very many places in Kingston. It's mainly that area along Hurley Avenue rather, and there was another one section, and then it would also be for the pertinent parts of Broadway, except that the thing with Broadway when it's built is that the bike lanes will actually be separate from the street, so it shouldn't be much of an issue. All right.
Do you answer your questions,
Yes.
Rita? All right.
Yep, thank you, thank you.
Okay, great. So that's it for the resolutions. President Schott, do you want to say anything about the community development?
Well, Steve is here and he chairs it, so I would ask Steve to unmute himself, and although I guess he still can't hear us, can he? Steve, can you hear us? All right, I'll jump in and talk about this, although I of course I'm not on the committee, so I wasn't there for the lengthy discussions, but this is the annual CDGB BG grant where the committee spends many hours debating where they would allocate, I think it's over $700,000, correct? And then it goes to the mayor for his recommendations, and then it came back this past week, and the committee has signed off on it. Actually, I skipped a step because it does start with an advisory council committee. So that's just the process. I wasn't there for the first meeting, but first few meetings where all the hard work took place. So if anybody wanted to jump in with some of the groups, but we are able to award over $700,000 to some really great organizations here.
Great. Alderman Ventura Morel.
Yes, Jeffrey Ventura Morel here. So it was a very long process. We started off thinking that we were going to get less than we actually ended up getting in the end. So a lot of the organizations ended up receiving close to their full ask. People's Place and Family of Woodstock are two that stand out because they are the ones that are fulfilling the greatest need right now, feeding people. And so the proposal went to the mayor, and then we found that there was, I think, $48,000 in additional funding that he was able to redistribute to those organizations. And we accepted his proposal without changes. He changed very little from what we had suggested.
Great, thank you. Any other comments about that from folks who are in the trenches on that process? Nope. Okay, does anybody have anything else they would like to say? Alderwoman Hurt?
Yes, I'd like to bring the discussion back around again to making these meetings available to the public at the time we're having them, in addition to just letting the public call in. I know there's concern about letting the public in for live access through the open, through our GoToMeeting application, and having the public have access to their video cameras. But we had been discussing Radio Kingston live streaming our meetings prior to going into pause. And in speaking with Kyle at IT, the City of Kingston does have the ability to live stream our meetings through Facebook so that the public does not have access to cameras and to hack the meetings. And so I just would like to bring up, have a discussion and see where everybody falls about making these meetings as accessible to the public and to the press as possible at this time without them having the ability to hack our meetings. Thank you.
President Schott?
Sure. So this is Andrea Schott here. The Radio Kingston, when we were talking about live streaming, just going back, that was when we actually thought we would be meeting in chambers and maybe not with public. So that's where that conversation came from. So like the Radio Kingston live streaming, the mayor's updates every day, they go into City Hall to do it. So I haven't had conversations because I can't see how that would be feasible with what I was talking to them at least, 6 weeks ago. And then I am talking with Kyle about how to set up GoToMeeting through live streaming. He has sent me something. So the problem is you have to, like, for Zoom, there's a button that you could press that could live stream right away, and you could have the two separate channels. But GoToMeeting it may not be impossible, but there has to be software that has to be organized through it. So he gave me the link, and I've been very sick and haven't gotten to talk it through with him to see if GoToMeeting is going to be possible, or if we would have to switch to Zoom to make it possible, which would mean we would start all over again. So that's kind of where I am with researching it.
Alderman Davis and Alderwoman Hirsch?
So Alderman Davis here. That was going to be my question, Chairwoman Schott. Is this that mean that we might have to do everything over now and get out of this whatever we're in now, GoToMeeting, and we would have to now learn how to go to another software and do it all over? And that was my question. And then how long will the process that be now to figure out how
nobody else is.
Right. Well, it depends. I mean, I'm still looking. Kyle and I are still looking.
I mean, I had muted myself as I usually do, but I couldn't hear anybody else.
Steve,
and I can see,
we can hear you.
I can see people talking, and I don't hear anything.
Okay, I'm gonna mute him. Sorry, guys.
Can you accept that again?
Okay. Now I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. Just had to mute Steve. So if we continue to use GoToMeeting, there has to be a link in between the two channels, which that's what I need to just go through, because as organized, it would be me figuring out that link. If we were to switch to, so it could be possible if we were to switch to Zoom when it would be a lot easier to live stream, then yes, everybody would have to learn a new platform.
But isn't the problem with Zoom that it's been hacked quite a number of times?
That was the reason why we went with GoToMeeting, because the week that we were going into this and making plans, we heard a couple horror stories. So that's why we use GoToMeeting. It is more secure, but it isn't as easy to live stream. I don't know if it's impossible yet. Like I said, I'm still waiting to figure that out.
Okay, Alderwoman Hirsch?
Yeah, so I heard from Kyle today. I'm sorry that you've been ill, President Schott, but he said that it was possible.
I'm unmuted, but I can see people talking, but I can't hear.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Steven,
all right.
yeah, I can't. So he said that he tested live streaming through Facebook with open broadcast software, which is free, so that the city of Kingston can live stream out of Facebook, the city of Kingston Facebook page. So I'd like just to see make a motion to have a vote. If we don't have to change software programs, we can stay with GoToMeeting and live stream how everyone would feel about it. I know everyone was concerned legitimately with our cameras being hacked, but at this time, we should be having as transparent meetings as we can, open to the public in keeping with open meeting law.
Caucus is not an appropriate place for motions and such. This is just for discussion. Alderman Davis?
Alderman Davis here. I think, I mean, like I said, we can't take a vote here, but Andrea is the one that has to do most of the legwork on this and be able to get this all set up. And so she's got to be comfortable and with whichever way that we're going to do this. So we have to give her the opportunity to, get familiar with this software, talk to Kyle, so she can come familiar, because she and Madam President here is the one that's, running basically every meeting and, getting the, people the password to get on, giving the information to the public who's listening, and then turning it over to whoever the chair is. So I just say that we have to give her time to get comfortable and whichever way that that can be done and going forward before we just say which way we should go. She has to be comfortable with it because she's the one that's running the meetings. And I applaud her for what you're doing right now. It's not easy. We got a lot of technical difficulties, as you can see here, and I believe that they're running as smooth as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it.
Great. Alderwoman Worthington?
Hi, okay, Rita Worthington here. So I agree with both Alderwoman Hirsch and Alderman Tony Davis. I am for, though, we should really, if we could make it more transparent, that's what we're about, transparency and consistency. If we can make it more transparent for the public, then we should do that. However, if it's going to jeopardize us being hacked or any way put us in any kind of jeopardy, then we also have to take a look at that. So, President Schott is doing a good job with running these meetings and getting them up and running for us. But if you're able to look into another, well, not another program, but this program that we use now to go to meetings, and if there is a way that we could make it more accessible to the public as far as transparency is concerned, then we should take a look at that. And if that's not going to be difficult for you to do, then I don't see any problem with, going that way.
Great. Alderman O'Reilly?
Hi, Alderman O'Reilly. Andrea's been doing a fantastic job, and I appreciate that, Andrea. Andrea, have you just not, it seems like Michelle's been in contact with Kyle. Have you been in contact with Kyle about this at all? This last?
Yes, I have. He sent me the software that I have to look at. Like I said, I've been sick.
Okay. Well, as soon as you can take a look at that, that'd be great. We appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Any other issues anybody wants to raise? Alderman Tollerman.
Hi, hi, it's Don Tollerman. It's a technicality, but Resolution 91 has a typo. The intersection, I think, is Westbrook Place, not Westbrook Lane. Westbrook Lane goes into the plaza, which is a very important thoroughfare. Just
You caught
check
them. They were trying to create a permanent detour.
that.
All right.
If it was on Westbrook Lane, it would be a big deal.
Ulysses, you got that? Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Anything else? If that's it, then Alderman O'Reilly. I want to thank Alderman O'Reilly, by the way, for showing us every room in his house tonight. Yes, Alderman O'Reilly, you've got the floor.
Oh, you couldn't hear me. I'm on my cell phone. I'm walking around. The kids are using the computers. Believe me, the house is busy. Reddy, you said we can't have a resolution during caucus. Is that true? Is that true?
Caucus is technically a Democratic Party meeting, and so it's not a place where you legislate. It's a place where if the Common Council were, say, evenly divided, 5 Democrats, 4 Republicans, you would have a much better sense of why you can't legislate during one of these meetings. But because we have 8 Democrats and you who caucus with us, it feels like it's a Common Council meeting, but in fact, it's a political meeting, not a legislative meeting. Does that clarify?
Thank you.
Right. Oops. All right. Anything else? Going once, going twice, going thrice. All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I got a motion from Jeffrey Ventura Morel, second from Alderman O'Reilly. Steve Shabbat, do you want to say something?
I do. I had no audio for this whole meeting. Can we start over, please?
Yes, but we'll go backwards.
We heard you.
All right, thanks.
We heard you a lot.
I'll give you a call tomorrow. We'll catch up.
Fortunately, this is all recorded, so you may live it again if you'd like.
Oh my God. I was on the phone for the whole meeting with Kyle. I just got audio about 2 minutes ago.
All right. Well, we're glad you made it finally, but I think we're done. All right. So talk to you tomorrow. And anybody else who's got any concerns about tomorrow, feel free to give me a call. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.